President Trump signed an executive order yesterday to expand immigration restrictions that he says will help get Americans back to work in the wake of the coronavirus. This order extends a ban on green cards issued outside of the United States and freezes many temporary work visas, including those who use heavily by technology companies and big corporations. Mike Emmons joining us live. He's an activist with the American Workers Coalition, an organization that fights to put American jobs first. Our panel, Governor Walker and Bethmartin are back with us. Mike, good to see you. Talking about these immigration restrictions, how will this help American workers?
Well, I think immediately it's going to help a lot. They're talking about 500,000 jobs will be opening up for American workers. I've been fighting this thing for a very long time, letting people know the negative effects of these visa programs.
And that's something that a lot of people want to see. Some on the one side of the aisle say it's good. Some say, hey, it's not so good. But tech companies and big corporations are notorious for bringing in foreign talent. It's cheap labor. They're also big political donors. A lot of us know this. How does this impact them? And will there be political fallout from this, Mike?
Well, I think they're going to have to start looking to hire locals and not importing cheap labor on these visas. And, those are indentured workers that are tied to that company and they can't move and they're not going to ask for raises. They got to start playing the game the way it should be played. In 2002, I was ordered to train my foreign replacement workers, and for the past 18 years, I've seen nothing like what President Trump has done right now. It is the biggest move for American workers in my lifetime.
I'll show you this, too, because the WhiteHouse.gov is defending the executive order. Here's what they said. A Pew Research poll showed that 81% of Americans see mass immigration as a threat as we confront the challenges posed by coronavirus. So once we've recovered from the employment impact of coronavirus, is this order going to be reversed by the president, or is this possibly a permanent solution, Mike?
Well, I would hope it doesn't get reversed, and I hope that after he gets elected in November that he pushes it even further, because there are other programs like OPT, which was never ratified by Congress, costs billions in tax revenue because neither the company nor the OPT worker have to pay Social Security or Medicare tax. There's no salary rules, no quantity limits, and it affects young Americans more than anyone else. Also, there's H-4EAD, which is the program started by President Obama, where spouses of H-1Bs can get visas or get work visas. No requirements. This affects minorities and women the most. Those two programs need to be looked at after this happens.
Governor Walker, your response to that?
Well, the president's always been focused on the American worker, and I think this is another prime example of this. He understands that particularly over the last few months, even though in May we saw the creation of 2.5 million jobs across the country, which that combined with the largest retail month in American history shows signs that we're heading in the right direction. It's what in an hour or so I'll be talking about when Vice President Mike Pence comes to join us here in Wisconsin about the recovery, getting back up on our feet again. But as was just mentioned, as we're returning, as we're restoring the American economy, we've got to be looking out for workers. And at a time when literally millions of workers are out of jobs or underemployed or taking pay cuts, the last thing I think many people want is for America to be letting more people come in from outside of our borders, potentially to take some of those jobs. So I think until the economy gets back to where it was months ago when we had the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, I see this continuing.
Lindsey Graham put out a tweet essentially pushing back on this whole idea of immigration restrictions here. I'll show it to you. He says, those who believe legal immigration, particularly work visas, are harmful to the American worker do not understand the American economy. Bethmartin, is he right about that?
I think that Lindsey Graham isn't paying attention to the reality at hand right now today. We have 44 million people who've lost their jobs in this country since the middle of March because of what's happened with lockdowns around the country related to coronavirus. We need to put those people first. We need to stabilize our entire society. It means getting people back to work. It means making sure businesses can reopen. We need to reopen schools. College students need to have hope for the future, hope that they can actually get a job when they do do finally go back to school and are able to graduate. High school students, middle school students, everyone needs to be back at school. And Lindsey Graham is not paying attention to what's happening right now today. We can deal with immigration reform, and heaven knows Tea Party Patriots has worked on that for years and will continue to work on it. What happened with President Trump yesterday is the right thing to do for right now. It is likely the right thing to do to continue into the future, but we can debate that another day. Right now, it's time to put Americans and American families first, and I would think that every single elected official in this country would want to do that. I'm glad President Trump is.
American families have done sacrificed quite a bit during this coronavirus pandemic. We'll leave it right there. Mike Emmons joining us live. Mike, thanks so much. Good to hear you guys. Our panel, stay with us.
Thank you.
And you at home, still ahead, Vice President Joe